Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Finley, one of your service coordinators on this beautiful sunny Sunday morning, at least beautiful and sunny here in Middle Tennessee. Dina will be taking over service coordinator duties later in the service. Jesse is our Zoom host, Karen will be co-hosting, and Sandy is in the sanctuary to light our candles. And most importantly, you are here. We had such a positive response to the Quaker-esque service we prepared earlier this year. We are using a similar format as we reflect back on who we were before the pandemic, who we are now a year into our virtual services, and who we want to be as we look forward to the new post-pandemic normal. We are so glad you're here to help create this service together. You can see the various ways to reach out if you need help or support or information. Reverend Cynthia is always glad to hear from folks. As we planned and dreamed about today's service, we reflected back on this amazing, horrible, stressful, supportive, fantastical year. We thought about parts of the service or parts from specific services that represented who we had been before we went virtual, ways we have adapted to be virtual, and we began to dream about what we want to hang on to and dream for when we're all back together. We hope you find value and comfort and joy in today's service. But even more, we hope it helps you reflect and dream with us. Let us create this service together. As Sandy lights our chalice, we'll use the beginning of Amanda Gorman's presidential inauguration poem for our chalice lighting today.
When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. In the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gaze not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated.
First up, we have a song from Tina and Amelie. While we enjoy and even sing along, we'd like you to be considering our first question. Who were we? Think back to the days when we gathered in body, not just in spirit, back at GNUUC. What mattered to you about who we were then? After the song, you'll have an opportunity to share your reflections.
Sometimes I remember the old days when the world was filled with sorrow. You might have thought I was living, but I was all alone. In my heart the rain was falling, the wind blew, the night was calling. Come back, I'm all you've ever known. Open the door and come on in. I'm so glad to see you, my friend. You're like a rainbow coming around the bend. And when I see you happy, well, it sets my heart free. I'd like to be as good a friend to you as you are to me. There were friends who could always see me. Through their haze, their smiles would greet me, saying okay, saying goodbye, saying hello. Soon I knew just what I was after. It was life and love, tears and laughter. Hello, my good friend. Hello, my darling. What do you know? Open the door and come on in. I'm so glad to see you, my friend. You're like a rainbow coming around the bend. And when I see you happy, well, it sets my heart free. I like to be as good a friend to you as you are to me. I used to think it was only me feeling alone, not feeling free to be alive, to be a friend. Now I know we all have stormy weather. The sun shines through and we're together. I'll be your friend right through to the end. Open the door and come on in. We're so glad to see you, our friends. You're like rainbows coming around the bend. And when we see you happy, well, it sets our hearts free. I'd like to be as good a friend to you as you are to me. I'd like to be as good a friend to you as you are to me.
Thank you, Tina and Amelie. That was beautiful. Now our first opportunity for folks to share. Jesse will make it possible for you to unmute yourselves when you are ready. Please share only once to ensure everyone who would like to share will also have a chance to do so. To get the ball rolling, and as someone who has only got to have 2 Sundays to experience the congregation before we went virtual last year, what jumps out in my memory is lunch after the service. Simply getting a chance to sit, share food, fellowship, and community together in person as a congregation. That warmth and welcoming is a big reason we stayed. You now have the opportunity to unmute yourselves. Thank you.
My experience is something similar to yours, Scott. I always remember what I loved before was sitting down, breaking bread, talking face to face with people. We need connection. What I did during this COVID thing was kind of get into my inner introvert, and I think I weathered fairly well. But I look forward to having more contact and seeing people and you know, the connection. Thank you.
I guess, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I There's so much to say, but I guess the simplest way to put it is, I miss smiling faces. I miss hugs. I miss the absolute support that you feel when you're in the presence of family. And just knowing that we're there for each other. And even though we've been separate, we've still had each other's backs. But I do so look forward to that genuine feeling of connection when we are together in person.
This is Mary. What I loved was choir practice before the service, arriving early and chatting with the other early comers at church, and sneaking a cup of coffee to choir practice and enjoying that time very much.
Yeah, I want to add on what Mary said. It was for me choir rehearsal and also handbell choir. Just the joy of making music together in person, and every once in a while singing the wrong note and just kind of, nudging a little bit. Oh, okay, well that happened. It's just the joy of that in-person music making. It's just we were wonderful at that.
Absolutely.
Yes, Barbara.
I enjoy being with the people and I miss it terribly. I can't tell you. Sunday on a Zoom is not the same thing as Sunday in the sanctuary and Sunday in the.
It's because we're both on. Here, I'll cut this off.
Excuse me?
Go ahead, Barbara.
Sunday, okay, and Sunday in the social hall as well. But I have been able to keep touch with two people that I want to just tell you how wonderful they are. Sandy Blands and Sarah Jane Powell have visited me regularly, have brought me soup. And in fact, I wouldn't have had a Thanksgiving dinner without Sandy Blands. I will tell you that they have been absolutely wonderful. They have taken me to doctors. They have taken me all over the place. They have been wonderful to me. It's a wonderful, when you get to be my age, the lay ministry is certainly an important part of this congregation. Thank you.
This is Karen, and I have to say that I miss our children. That for me, my my experience in UU faith began when Jesse joined a congregation in Bloomington, Indiana, before Adrian and I had moved there to join him. And so the first Sunday that we were there, and Adrian was, I think, maybe 3 weeks old. And I showed up at church there. And then even as in this congregation, as my children have grown up into the wonderful young adults that they are, you know, it's like seeing others' children, you know, running around, doing things, asking questions. I think you kids ask more questions. I mean, not saying that all kids don't ask questions, but you kids seem to ask an awful lot of questions. And I so miss that.
Yes, David. I'm sorry, David, you're still muted. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, I don't know
You're good now, David. Go ahead.
how. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
The connection with everyone is very meaningful and very helpful to me and nourishing to me, but particularly those of the founding members. We have been so close for so many years that they in particular are really dear to me. And of course, even before this is Mike, who's sitting right here, who's before this church, years before, decades before this church. So all of that is very meaningful to me. And I am looking forward to the day that we can get back. And even if it has to be an air hug, at least an air hug.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Okay. Oh, good. You can hear me. The community is the main thing for church here. I always find a lot to do and stay pretty active, just trying to get it done. David, I'm coming to see you. That's it.
That was wonderful. Thank you all for sharing your insights. Next up, we'll have the Thrive Choir singing We Shall Be Known. As we enjoy the words or even sing along, please consider our next question. Who are we now? What gifts has the pandemic offered us? What blessings have we found in our virtual services or during this physical distancing time?
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds to change the light from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. Yay. Thanks. Bye.
Now, let me open our chance to share about who we are by telling you what came up for me in my reflections. I appreciate how creative we've been about music, from the beautiful pieces that Fran recorded for us, to having awesome offerings from members, to YouTube helping us find new and exciting artists to share. I also was deeply grateful for how we used this time to learn more and deeper lessons about who we are as a loving people. From the conversation Jesse and I had about unconscious bias, to Mom sharing about the beloved community, our delicious services from Reverend Sarah, and the joy Reverend Cynthia brings to each service she provides. I invite you to share. Who are we in this time away? Who do you see us as? The floor is now yours to share.
It's Fran. Everything you said, Thina, you said a lot. And I think a lot of us feel exactly the way you do. Bottom line is we've done what it took to survive and provide the kind of sustaining nourishment that this congregation needed. We were able to fight through any problem. And I think we succeeded, maybe even beyond our expectations. So we know now that there's not a challenge really that we cannot face and be highly successful at. And I personally want to thank everyone who has put so much time and effort into making sure that these services are there for us, because they have been so important to our surviving this crazy year.
This is Jenny. I have been grateful that I don't feel like we're a Sunday only church anymore. Being able to have meetings spread throughout the week, I find that I'm able to bring more joy to those times as well, because I have Sunday to refresh and renourish, and then the work can get done spread across more time.
I have a message from Nathaniel. He'd like me to share on his behalf to everyone. Nathaniel learned the sacred nature of in-person gathering, that administrative work and the minutia of running an organization can be done at other times. For example, the board moved from meeting once a month for 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon to 1 hour on Thursday every other week. And they're not going back. That's from Nathaniel.
This is Karen. And one thing I'd like to acknowledge is that right now, I think we remain a little bit wounded, by this experience. I don't mean to be a downer on this, but it's just something, that I want to make sure that we allow space for the grief. We've not been able to be together at times and be with each other at times when we really, really needed to be. And but if somebody had told us that we would go for over a year without having Mike's banana pudding at lunch, and that most of us would still be meeting regularly on a Sunday morning and doing well, I think we would have we would not have believed it. We have a great number of our congregation that meets virtually every Sunday, but there's still a number for whom this format does not work, and I'm looking forward to seeing them again.
I think we have time for one more share if anyone is so inclined. Go ahead, David.
I want to thank everyone for making this possible. All the technical work that's going behind every one of these services is wonderful. That these people are contributing their hours without any compensation for it. They're doing it all free. And I'm very grateful for everyone that has contributed to these Zoom services.
I think Linda wanted to say something.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes. If I go one more week without a bear hug from Steve or a smile from Karen, I don't know if I can survive. I mean, it has been a very long, hard, and trying year. And I really have discovered how much I need the contact. I've appreciated the Zoom. Without it, I'm not sure I could have made it at all. But it has pointed out to me how very much more I even need to be in my community and to see and touch my people.
You got to a three of them. Good night.
All right. We're going to take a break from mentioning about GNUC to revisit one of our favorite Time for All stages from this past year. This was shared by Michelle when she was our speaker on Sunday. And we bring you the joy and dedication of a loving spirit who creates something totally new.
It's magical. You look out the window and you see those first snowflakes start to fall, and you can't help but get a little excited that, is this going to be a big storm? And
depending on the weather, the temperature, humidity, everything you want to take consideration with it. It's not supposed to be any two alike.
In a time before computers, digital cameras, and even electricity, 10-year-old Wilson Bentley had a dream: to capture the beauty of a snow crystal.
Always, from the very beginning, it was the snowflakes that fascinated me most. The farm folks up in this country dread the winter, but I was supremely happy.
Oh, I think the whole thing is incredibly strange and special. The idea of this guy running around chasing snowflakes and making these negatives of them. It's just astonishing. It's so obsessive and passionate, and to make it then a life's work. It's a great story.
Bentley was born on February 9th, 1865, in Jericho, Vermont. His father was a farmer, and his mother was a teacher.
His mother had an old microscope that she used in her school teaching. So Bentley sat out in the shed in the back of the house, using the old microscope and looking at snow crystals. He did this again and again and again.
Bentley was a lover of nature, and he was infatuated with the symmetry of the snowflake. There was hexagonal beauty in the structures themselves.
I became possessed with a great desire to show people this wonderful loveliness.
He decided he had to get a camera.
This is the actual piece that he purchased. It's a Bellows camera. The rest of it he had to adapt for the camera and then add the microscope onto it. One of the problems he had was that the microscope was in the front, and he had to view the snowflake from behind, and he was unable to reach and focus. So what he did, he designed this pulley system with a string and some wooden wheels, and he attached it to the fine focus of the microscope so that when he was behind the camera, looking through it, he'd be able to focus the microscope to get a clear picture of the snowflake.
Yeah, at the time, photography was probably only 20 years old, and most of it was portrait photography. So to interface the camera with the microscope was a rather unique thing.
The actual making of these photographs couldn't have been more difficult, could not have been harder. It's got this guy chasing around in some field with this piece of black velvet, catching the thing on, catching a little snowflake on the piece of black velvet, and then he's manipulating it with a feather.
They had chickens in their chicken coop, and he would get a feather. There's always feathers, he leaves feathers all over the place. He picked up a feather, and with that feather, he could move that snowflake around to get just the ones that he wanted and push away the others.
He'd bring it back in the shed, and he'd very carefully look at it. And if he found a snow crystal he wanted to photograph, he would pick it up very gently and put it on the microscope slide. Then he would put that in front of the camera and point the camera out into the storm so you get in the flight. He worked with transmitted light. He had no electricity, so he had to use the light, natural light that he was able to get. It would take him anywhere from maybe 20 seconds to maybe 2 minutes for the exposure. But that's how we got it.
On January 15th, 1885, Wilson Bentley took the very first photograph of a snow crystal.
The day that I developed the first negative made by this method, I felt like falling on my knees beside that apparatus and worshiping it. I knew then that what I had dreamed of doing was possible. It was the greatest moment of my life.
They are beautiful photographs, first and foremost. And I think that that's the product of this sort of single-minded vision, just to get it right, to make them look handsome.
This was his obsession for the rest of his life. I think you could compare it to the Holy Grail. He was searching for that most magnificent of all snow crystals.
Oh, for 1,000 hands, 1,000 cameras to preserve more of this exquisite beauty, so lavishly scattered over the earth.
Bentley was motivated from within and not from his family, who kind of looked down their nose at what he was doing.
His father and brother never appreciated what he did, and they thought it was an absolute waste of time.
There's always work to do on the farm, and he's out there taking pictures of stupid snowflakes.
In spite of a lack of understanding and support, Bentley went on to take over 5,000 photographs of snowflakes.
Well, it's remarkable that he was able to photograph as many photographs as he did in a relatively short period of time. I think on some days he was able to photograph more than 50 snow crystals in a single day or a single snowstorm.
I think he was just looking at them, just really getting off on the total weirdness and beauty and specialness of them.
It's not the same kind of world that we had in those days. I don't think people would want to spend that amount of time. They don't have time for this, time for that. I got to do this. I got an appointment here. No way.
In the fall of 1931, after years of effort, Bentley finally convinced a publisher to print a complete collection of his snow crystal images.
2 days after Thanksgiving, 3 copies of his book arrived in the mail. And I had to believe he was just overjoyed at that. However, he did not have too much time to enjoy it. A week or so later, I believe he was coming back from Jericho, and I've been told it was pretty cold out and pretty wet and some snow down on the ground, and he got pneumonia. They had a nurse come in, but it was too late. He was getting sicker and sicker, and 2 days before Christmas, 1931, he died.
When he died, I felt badly about it because I just knew that we had lost somebody that was far ahead of everybody else in this particular science.
By and large, I think most people don't realize who Bentley was. And yet, most of the time when you see an image of a snowflake, it's either the actual image that Bentley took or photographed, or it's an artist's reconstruction of that snowflake.
I think he is very happy that so many are beginning to appreciate what he had been doing. Really. I hope he is, but I have an idea.
That's still one of my all-time favorite Time for All Sages. I mean, just the story of his perseverance and his belief in his vision, you know, and I feel like in the last year during the pandemic, we have embodied those traits as well. So I've heard a lot about thanks to those of us who have put together the services, but also thanks to everyone who comes to the services. I mean, they are meaningless without you. They are, you know, only so much philosophical thinking and you know, consideration until we have the church members there as well. So our Share the Plate partner for April is Stop AAPI Hate Center. Hatred and bigotry and xenophobia anywhere is a threat to all of us. And the rise in acts of violence and harassment against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders is alarming. Our Share the Plate partner for April both tracks these incidents and provides assistance and support, as well as advocating for civil rights protections at all policy levels. As we take a few minutes to allow folks time to text their donations, please enjoy this video from another May 2020 service.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, so you better start swimming, or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again, and don't speak too soon, for the wheels still in spin. announcement. Please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block up the hall. For he that gets hurt will be he who has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls. For the times they are a-changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your old road is rapidly aging. Please get out of the new one if you can't lend a hand. For the times they are a-changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will later be past. The order is rapidly fading, and the first one now will later be last. For the times they are a-changing. For the times they are a-changing.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for letting us play that one again. That was absolutely gorgeous. We spent some time today considering where we came from and where we are today. And now the time has finally arrived to consider our final question for today's service. Who do we want to be? As we look toward the new future, when we'll have a new minister, where most of us will be vaccinated, and as the world decides what lessons to keep from this pandemic time and what may be left behind, take a moment and consider what comes to mind for you about the future of GNUUC. Mom, is your hand up?
No.
Okay. Karen.
I want us to be brave and unafraid. I want us to go forward knowing that we aren't returning to what we were, but that we're going forward to something new. I want us to, be big and small, kind of at the same time. We like being a congregation our size, but in some ways we've grown past what that looks like. So I want us to, I just want us to be unafraid of what the future brings, to do what we do with love, and to go forward.
Barbara?
I want to see more children. I miss children. I miss the Sunday school. It was a great program. I mean, being 83, I'm really divorced from it, but at the same time, that makes our church so special, to have the kids running around, to have the kids asking questions, to have the kids participating in the service. And I want to see more of that.
I'll tell you, for me, I really like we have so many options. I like how broad our community has become. It's not just, as Jenny said a little bit earlier, it's not just a Sunday church anymore. And it's also not just a Bellevue church anymore. It's expanded. We've created the opportunities for people to be involved, even if they don't live in Nashville. It's kind of wonderful. Jeff and Gina, did I see your hands up as well?
Yes, Dan muted me. Oh, unmuted. Oh my, unmuted. I don't know. It was look forward to for the church. I guess. We're coming down on the 19th, so we won't see you because it's not going to be a Sunday. But it's like a connection, into a place where we eventually hope possibly see ourselves living. But I'm looking forward to playing guitar on the beach.
Yes.
So, because I did it last night for like almost a year. It's been a year, and I was just like, oh no, I need to learn all these songs. So, and I detuned my guitar to my voice because it's hard to play. So, like, you can do that. You can really do that. Anyway.
I think what I appreciate about what has happened during the pandemic is actually being able to go to church in places that I haven't been able to, like your church, because we're here in Massachusetts. So being able to do that is awesome. And so in some ways, our church here in Massachusetts has talked about being able to keep some of this virtual stuff continued, because if somebody's sick, they can be able to continue being able to come to church. And we always say, come as you are, whoever you are. So, that allows you to be able to do that.
Love that. Love that.
I don't want to predict the future, although gosh, what's going to happen? I don't know. I think it's something that's going to happen. We got so much power and creativity and thought and soul in this church. We're losing some of it. I must talk about Mary Hinton, who is moving to Colorado. She is a founding member of this congregation. She has worked so hard in so many areas and given so much. We will miss her, but I know she's going out to be with family, and she will be in my heart, and I know everyone's heart. You're a wonderful person, Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that so much. This has been my church home my whole 32 years in Nashville. I'm going to miss it very much.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to provide some way for you to continue to be involved with us. We would really miss you. All right, I think we have time for one more share. Does anybody feel so inclined? Barbara.
But I look at 2 chairs in my living room, and I will always have you with me. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So I'd like to thank you all for the wisdom and honest insight that you've shared with everyone today, thinking about all 3 of our questions. What a lovely service we've created together. Please join along as we enjoy Leah Morris, one of the voices we have celebrated during this virtual year.
My hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, and I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my arms are long enough, they're long enough, and I'm good enough. My arms are long enough to give love. I know that my heart is wide enough, it's wide enough, I'm good enough. My heart is wide enough to give love. I know that good enough. My light is bright enough to give love. And my heart is wide enough to give love. I know that my arms are long enough to give love. My hands are strong enough to give love.
Uh-oh. What problem is this? Not a problem at all. We fix. We fix. Boom. 1, 2, 3.
I have found such great joy in Leah's work. All right. We are going to listen to a song that is very familiar to all of us that we haven't heard in a while, and that is Spirit of Life.
And Thina, were we going to do joys and concerns first?
Well, actually, I think we're running low on time, and we've all shared a great deal already today.
Of
So,
course, my apologies, of course.
what a joy to hear Fern's voice and to sing along with her as well. So, we have a whole host of April birthdays, and I think it's time for us to sing happy birthday. Are we missing anybody on the slide? If so, please pipe up. All right, then let us enjoy some happy birthday for our April birthdays.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, April. After much debate, those of us putting together the service of reflection and vision decided that we wanted to move our covenant to the end for this week. That build a better world part, that's the outward focus, the big dream piece that we want to wrap up with. So please join me in saying these valued words if you are so moved. We covenant together to make a welcoming community, to walk together in the way of truth and love, to seek the life of the Spirit as it is known by each person, to support each other in thought, word, and deed as we work to build a better world. As Sandy extinguishes our candle today, please bask in closing words from Amanda Gorman's poem, The Hill We Climb.
In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens, but one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the wind-swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.